Welcome, everyone. I'm excited that you're joining us today for another JobTread Live. We're going to be talking about the key ingredients for successful software implementation. You can also explore all of our past webinars and our upcoming webinars at jobtread.com/webinars or on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to continue the conversation at any point after this, feel free to reach out to us. You can find our contact information on jobtread.com, or if you're a customer, obviously know how to get to it in the help desk. We'd certainly love to continue the conversations, and however we can help be a resource to you, we're always looking to help and add value. So thanks again for joining us today. I'm going to jump right in. So how can software help? There's a lot of different things that software and technology can do for businesses, especially around helping you get organized, being able to centralize all of your information, whether it be photos, files, documents, everything about a job, about a customer. It's just a great place and a great way to centralize everything, digitally collecting information, managing your teams, your customers, vendors. Like there are so many ways that, when I've seen a lot of companies that are struggling to scale their business, often kind of when you start to look at the details, they're very scattered everywhere. They got, kind of information in many different, places, a lot of different, information all over the place. And so software can really help you get organized. It can help you become more efficient too. It's going to help you save time. If there are places where you got, duplicate data entry or worse, it can just really eliminate a lot of that, which is going to help, prevent mistakes and reduce your errors that are happening. It can become a tool that you're able to access information anywhere on the go, whether you're in the office or on the job site. Having that information at your fingertips is going to make you a lot more efficient. You can monitor the job progress, the quality, just get visibility into the business and the things that are happening, wherever you are. It can also help you grow your business, whether you're setting your goals and you're tracking, your progress against them, or you're trying to, sell and manage more jobs at the same time, or you want to improve, kind of your results and your performance, and gaining that insight and that visibility can be a really great resource, a great tool for you. So software can do a lot for people, but, when I often ask, kind of what are they thinking about, from a construction standpoint, there's so many different areas, whether it may be in the pre-construction or in the project management, or in the financial management, the business intelligence. Like there's so many different areas within a business that you really need to focus on and understand what your needs are, so that you can find the right solutions to help you grow your business. Whether it's pre-construction, getting organized and manage your sales and your customers and your leads and all that information, everything, from generating budgets and sending out proposals and collecting signatures. Like, from a project management standpoint, having a schedule and being able to keep your subs and your, all of your internal team members on the same page, managing the work orders, the financial, the bills, the invoices, your cash flow, all of that information. It's really important that you really think through every single part of your business to figure out how you can improve it and where software and technology can help benefit you. But when I talk to a lot of, people about it, I often kind of get this sense of like, there's this kind of, this fear. They're afraid of technology. They're afraid of software. Like they might think that it's, going to be really complicated to learn, and it's going to be really challenging to use. Like maybe it's going to be really expensive and they can't afford it. They're worried about reliability or losing data. Like the notion of hosted software in the cloud can be very, scary sometimes. Like maybe there's too many options and they don't know what to choose. There's so many different ways that, people can feel like, there's just one reason after another that like, they don't know how they're going to get it implemented, or people are going to adopt it. Like, all of these fears, can really be, kind of overcome by, gaining a better understanding of the full process of, picking the software, getting the software implemented, training your people, getting it rolled out, and then understanding the real impact that it can have on your business can typically help kind of overcome a lot of these. But software doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be, this huge burden. It should be looked at as a resource, as a value add, as something that's going to help improve your business and help you grow and be more efficient and make your life easier. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Like not all software is super expensive. I know some of the, the older software that's been around for a long time, like that can be, expensive. But again, a lot of the more modern technology and the modern software, the software as a service, is priced to be affordable. If it's not, then you might want to look elsewhere. But there are so many ways that it can really be a huge benefit to you. And like the notion of people thinking that on pen and paper and having paper in a binder is more reliable than having your data hosted on a web application that's backed up and has got a whole bunch of kind of fault tolerant processes in place. There's so many ways that this can make you a more powerful, a more successful leader by implementing these solutions that are going to help your business thrive and grow and scale. So I hope that people can kind of look past the fear that they might have about technology, because there's so many benefits, and those benefits drastically outweigh the risk every single time. So I really want to dive into, and this is kind of the meat and potatoes here of this presentation. So like the key ingredients for software implementation, and we're going to kind of dive into each one of these sections, but, it really starts on, identifying the processes, researching your possible solutions here, identifying the key players, the key stakeholders that need to be involved on your team, dedicating time to learning the software, getting the training, leveraging the resources that are available to you, setting up the integrations and doing the data migrations, and then committing to the transition. Like, these are the key areas that I want to focus on today. I've run multiple software organizations. I've run construction companies. I've done a lot of consulting. I've helped numerous organizations implement software solutions, and making sure that you identify each of these different areas and how you're going to address them, and just having a plan is one of the most important things that you can do to successfully implement new software. And so that's why we're going to kind of dive into each of these. So, to start off, like identifying your needs, like what problems are you trying to solve? What processes need to be improved? Are there repetitive tasks that you keep performing? Where is your business inefficient? Like when I first took over the general contracting firm that I ran, it was pretty apparent when I walked in and I saw a bunch of papers, being put in binders and passed around, and, a bunch of, duplicate data entry from one spreadsheet to another, like it was very clear all of the different areas that we were just extremely inefficient. But I think one of the most valuable things that I did to really understand the needs of the organization was that I sat down with each one of the employees and I shadowed them for a day. I wanted to watch and understand how they were using, whatever tools they were given, whatever their processes were. I wanted to really understand their needs. And so I watched them for a day. I communicated with them. I asked them, like, what are your biggest frustrations? What are the things that are holding you back, that are making you less efficient? Like, if I could remove any one thing, any one bottleneck from your day-to-day process, what would it be? Where do you spend the most time every single day? Starting to ask those questions, having those conversations, watching their workflow really helped me to identify the key areas that we needed to address and that I needed to come up with solutions for to help scale the business. And so, again, I think it's really important that you work with your team and you just have open and honest, discussions about it. I mean, you don't want people to feel like, you're going to judge them, or that, they might be fired because they're not being, super efficient. Like, no, it's all about learning and understanding how you can improve their job, improve their day-to-day, so that they can be more efficient and ultimately more profitable for the business. And so I think it's just so important, though, that like before you go and you start doing demos and you start, looking at new solutions, like just have a very good understanding of what your needs are so that you know what you're looking for. And when you find something, you can always check off, what did that solve this problem? Does that solve this problem? Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, then it can be very hard to make sure that you're solving that problem. And so, to the best of your abilities, like just understanding the organization's needs is a really great place to start. Now, obviously, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so having an open mind, when you do find new possible solutions and things that might be able to add, additional value, that's obviously really important. That's really great. But, at the end of the day, like, trust your gut and make sure that what you're going to implement is going to help you and is going to solve your organization's needs. And then when we move to, researching possible solutions, I mean, obviously in today's day and age, like, Google search is, is probably the number one thing that everyone does, but like, there's so many different ways, searching for, kind of the problem, that you're having, searching for, potential solutions, searching for, whatever it may be, like, just leveraging Google is an extremely good way to start finding resources online. But I think beyond that too, like asking your peers, asking other people, who are in a similar situation and running a similar business, or, have a similar size company, like asking them, like, hey, how have you addressed this issue? How have you overcome this challenge? Like, it's such a great way to learn from others who have been there before you, and how they have handled it, and even like what worked and what didn't work. I've seen tons of people online these days, like, on Facebook group and LinkedIn groups, and, posting on social media and asking others, because even if they're not in your immediate network, like, you can get valuable insight from other people that have, again, they have experienced the same challenges that you're having, and they've overcome them. And so, like, reading the online reviews like Reddit, or joining user groups, like, reading online reviews is another great way to, again, learn how people have, come up with solutions and what's worked and what's not worked. Obviously, I think the number one most important thing you do is scheduling product demos. Like, the thing I want to caution everyone is that it's easy for a company, and it's a lot easier for marketing to come up with great, solutions and content, and even screenshots, that might look like they're, going to do everything that you're looking for. But like, at the end of the day, like, you need to see the product. You need to see it in action and really understand, does the product actually match what the marketing, website might say? Like, is that solution, going to solve your problems? And being able to have those live interactions with people who are experts on the solution, and they can show you how it would solve your problems. It's a great way to interact with a company, to evaluate the product, to essentially kind of better understand it before you have to kind of commit and go all in on it. It's just so important, though, that, like, you do your research. You got to be critical of everything, and really, don't just take things at surface value. Like, understand, how it works. Talk to other people, read reviews, like, make sure that you're doing your due diligence, and that you're fleshing out, the potential solutions that you might want to move forward with. And then identifying the key players, like the project owners, like, who are going to be all of the key stakeholders in this, who are going to be your users, like, what will their role be, like, what, again, it ties back to what problem are we solving, and how will that person who is going to be using this, how will this affect them, how will they, use it? Like, do there need to be permissions? Like, do there need to be, different roles that they would have within the software? Like, deciding, like, who is going to be the champion, who is the product owner for this new software solution, who is that? Like, you always need to have an internal champion for every solution. It's just so important that you can always have one person that is going to be dedicated to being that point person. They're going to be the point of contact with the company. They're going to, be that person who's going to be that first line of defense. They're going to get trained. They're going to help set it up. They're going to help train others. Like, it's so important that you identify who will be the champion. And it's so much easier to figure that out by involving them in the entire process, from, brainstorming what are the needs, to looking at the possible solutions, to participating on product demos, to having those post-demo conversations, doing your analysis, talking about it. Like, the more you involve all of the key people from the very beginning, the more likely you are going to be to have a successful implementation, because you're getting their buy-in, you're getting them, and you're involving them in the product decision before, you just show up and turn around and say, okay, here's this new tool for you to use, and, go figure it out and do it on your own. Like, they're going to take so much more ownership over it because they were part of the process and figuring it out. Then it's going to help you. And one thing I just want to note, like, you can find champions at any level of the organization. It doesn't have to be the owner or the manager who's implementing this. They, like, try to make everyone be a champion, try to help get everyone comfortable and make them be excited to use this. And that's going to help them motivate others around them who may be, lagging in adopting it. Like, just try to turn those people into champions, but make sure you do have one ultimate, owner of the solution and of the software, so that they're your go-to. And then, once you make your selection and once you purchase it, you've got to dedicate time to learning it, to getting it set up. Like investing that time up front is critical. Otherwise we're just wasting everyone's time. If you buy something and you don't implement it, then what was the point? Like you have to decide who is going to implement it and then dedicate that time. They need to schedule the training for that champion. I really love the train the trainer model, which again, if you have an internal champion, then they can be a great resource to everyone else in the organization. But once they're trained, like you got to block out that time to train everyone else. Give them the opportunity to come and to learn, to practice, to ask questions, create like a test account, create, sandboxes, a way for them to practice and feel like they're not going to be, just immediately having to use this on a live job without understanding how it works. Like it's so important that people can become comfortable and they know that they're not going to be judged and that they're not going to have this held against them if they make a mistake. Like give them that opportunity to learn and train as a group and have your champion there to help them, and also just making sure that everyone knows all of the resources that are available to them. Like that, you don't have to feel like you have to figure out everything on your own, but at the end of the day, like I want to stress, like the work that you do up front is going to pay dividends in the future. Like you can't buy something and expect it to have an immediate return on your investment, because you have to also invest your time. You have to invest and commit to making that transition. And so, when you take those steps and you block out that time early on, it's going to help you to much more quickly implement and adopt the software. I'm a huge fan of, and a lot of people don't always do this, but like when you sign up, for JobTread, like what a lot of people have started doing is like they can literally just block out and put a training on the calendar once a week for the first 3 or 4 weeks to make sure that they've got dedicated time. And whether it's a training with someone on our team or it's an internal training, like just blocking it out on the calendar and devoting that time will help ensure that everybody in the organization can get up to speed and can get implemented, and that you can have a successful launch. Now, again, understanding what resources are available to you, like, tons of companies, especially software companies. I mean, it's very common that there's a help desk, that there's online, videos or webinars like this that you can join in. A lot of them, will schedule, allow you to schedule one-on-one trainings with someone. There's all sorts of like, online, user groups and ways that you can kind of join a community of other users of that software. Like, with JobTread, we have the JobTread pros on Facebook, and it's just been a tremendous resource to all of our customers and also to the company as well. Like where we can see people that are asking questions and struggling to learn something, and then other people, other customers, even other users can chime in and can provide answers and guidance and suggestions, or if people need help and they don't know how to do something like that. Again, it gives the customers, the users, the opportunity to interact with the company. And so it can be a great resource, to leverage and to tap into. Also like user conferences or local live events, things like that, where like you can, again, send your team out to get training in person. Like JobTread, we're going to do our first inaugural user conference here in January, where people from all over the country, you can fly in, you can bring your team. We're going to have, a jam-packed 2 days of training sessions. We're going to help you meet other people in your type of, with a similar business, where you can meet, you can network and collaborate with them to learn how they're doing it. Again, it's just a great opportunity to further kind of build that relationship with the company and to learn and grow your understanding of the product and hopefully find new ways to implement it. And then lastly, like reaching out to support. Like almost every single software company has support resources. You can almost always email support at the company domain, and if they're good, hopefully they get back to you very quickly. But again, I see so many times people, they don't realize that they have someone available to help them, and they might spend hours trying to figure out something where you could have just spent 5 minutes making a phone call or sending a text to get that guidance, to get that answer very quickly. So like tapping into those support resources and asking for help, like you're going to save yourself so much time, and you might even learn a better way than what you were to come up with otherwise on your own. So I think it's important that, when you are evaluating software companies and looking for software solutions, like, do make sure that they have resources available to you and that you know how to access them. Again, it's a very common thing for software companies to have these things, but you want to also be aware of them so that you can tell your team and you can make sure that they're tapping into them and leveraging them. One really cool thing, I'll just kind of plug JobTread here for a second. Like, what we did, we had a help desk, and it was at help.jobtread.com. It was outside of our application. We saw how helpful and how valuable that was. And like, it was a really cool thing that we did. We actually built it directly into the app. So we moved our help desk from some other site directly into the application, where any page you're on, you can just click the little help icon there, and it's going to open up a little side panel with some articles, some videos, give you resources right there to help you learn as you're using the system. So, again, you just like having those resources and making sure that you're using them is going to drastically improve your adoption and implementation of the new software. So when we're talking about data migration, like, you're almost always have got some sort of a process in place, whether it be, pen and paper, or, text messages, and, different systems, or, different places that you're organizing data, or you have data. Like, whenever you implement a new system, it's really important that you understand what is the key information that you need to move over to the system. It's not all information needs to be moved over, but like, just to give you some ideas, like, for JobTread, we often say, hey, like, if you got, a lead database, or if you've got, a spreadsheet, or, if you got a list of your customers, and maybe in your QuickBooks, a list of your subs, your vendors, any like, spreadsheets that you're using, any templates that you have, like, we encourage all of our customers to send those to us so that we can help get them imported into the system. Because starting off with a blank slate is obviously a lot more, overwhelming. It's harder to kind of really visualize and understand how the system will work. And so, one of our best practices is like, let's immediately right away, start importing some of that data that we think will be really valuable and will help kind of, create some awareness, create, some similarities. So when people start using the software, they can sort of see some of that same information. Maybe before it was in a spreadsheet, but now it's in the software. Like, it just helps them better kind of grasp and understand and visualize the difference between the old way and the new way. And so we're huge proponents of figuring out that key information that you need to migrate over, and then get that in there. Sometimes you got to figure out what's the best way to get it in there. Hopefully there's ways to import. Like with JobTread, we have a whole bunch of import tools. We haven't yet made them available to our end users, only because as a value added resource, we will help kind of import that data to make sure that it goes in the right way. You get set up for success right out of the gate. But if importing is not an option, then again, do you need to manually recreate it? Going through and, again, dedicating some time to getting that critical data in there is very important. And that will help everyone else in your company who's going to come adopt the software. It'll help them get up to speed and understand it a lot quicker when they see your specific information in the system. Sometimes there can also be like, APIs and programmatic ways that data can be synced in. But at the end of the day, like, you really need to figure out what is important data that should be migrated in and get that in there. One thing I'll also throw out there, like, sometimes, you might have the data in a format and you might need to get it into another format. So for example, maybe you've got a price sheet with all of the cost items that, would need to go into your catalog, but maybe that's in a PDF and really it needs to get into a CSV or an Excel sheet for an import. For larger, formatting data type projects, like I would encourage you to consider how a virtual assistant, might be able to drastically, help you get that done by, just essentially outsourcing it, where they can do it very, very fast. And, you don't have to worry about it. Virtual assistants are extremely cheap. They can be a great resource for really a lot of different types of kind of tedious, monotonous task. And so, if it's a huge, data set or some sort of thing that, is very manual, then, I definitely highly encourage using a virtual assistant to help you get the data formatted and get it set up and implemented in the right place. And then setting up integration. So, one thing that, I think is extremely important, when you're looking at a software, when you're looking at a solution, like, you want to make sure that that solution is going to play good with everything else that you've got at your company. Like you need things that are going to be connected and able to share data. You don't want to get something that's going to be in a silo all by itself, because that can ultimately end up leading to duplicate data entry. If you're having to, do something in one system and then copy it into another, now we've created an inefficiency. So it's important that you figure out and find software that can integrate, and understanding what you need it to integrate with is very important too. So, with JobTread, a lot of people, they integrate with their accounting system or with payroll. And then that way, like, we eliminate all of the duplicate data entry. So whenever you send an invoice out of JobTread, or you pay a bill, you approve a bill in JobTread, that can automatically be created in your accounting system. When your time tracking comes in, it just can automatically go through payroll. Like, it's extremely important that you get these systems connected so that they're not off in their own silos. At the end of the day, ultimately you do want to have as few solutions as possible. You got to meet the needs of your business, but try to find systems that are, that do provide a lot of the solutions in one, and then can play well and connect to the other solutions. Payment processing is a great example. If you need to collect, online payments with credit cards, ACHs, or maybe you've got a lead capture form on your website, making sure you've set that up to automatically create the records in your system. Or if you're using some other CRM for email marketing or whatever it may be, like, getting those systems connected early on is going to help improve the adoption, and it's going to help people really understand the process of their day-to-day and how they're going to use it, and how information is going to come into the system, what's going to happen with it in there, and then how it's going to flow out if it needs to go out to somewhere else. And you don't have to have these integrations native within the application every time. A first class kind of a native integration is always going to be preferred, but don't let that stop you. Like, consider looking at Zapier, which is a great piece of it's kind of like a middleware software where, as long as both the applications you're trying to connect are integrated with Zapier, then you can create these zaps that will essentially have a trigger in the first system. So some action or something will happen, and then that trigger will create an action in the second system. And so essentially it's going to, data will come from one, and then it will move and do something in the other. It's a great way to connect so many different, applications. Thousands of applications can be connected in this way. And so I always highly recommend, when you're looking at a software solution, do just see if it's available on Zapier, because, even if you don't know what you might connect it with, it shows you that, that software is focused on, integrations. And, a common, thing to also look for is what's called an API. It's an application programming interface. And so that, again, it's a way for integrations and connections to other systems to occur. And so making sure that, that software, and some of the more antiquated software, I won't name names, doesn't necessarily have an open API. And that should be an indicator that, they may not be as modern and, kind of as forward thinking about making sure that their solution will integrate well with your other systems. And so just, again, looking for those APIs is just a good clue to understand that they will be able to set up integrations. Because if there are APIs available, then, custom development work can always be done as well. Hopefully you don't need that, but again, it's better to have that option there and to know that that system can be extended and can be connected than for you to be stuck with something that can't be. And then lastly, like, I know I've already mentioned this some, but like, you've got to commit to the transition. Like, you have to, jump in with both feet. Like, make sure that, you are committed and you're willing to use this. If you're not, then what's the point? If you go through all of this work and get everything set up and, your integration's done and the data migrated, but then like you're still doing things in the old system and, you're not fully transitioning over, like, that's going to lead to a lot of frustration. It's going to lead to a much more, drawn out, implementation. There are situations, and like if you're running a job on one system, I do usually recommend finish out that job, because you don't want to have a disruptive experience for your customer. However, all new jobs you'd want to, run on the new system. Like, you've got to just make that transition over, rip that Band-Aid off, get over to it as fast as you can, because it's just going to be a much easier transition for everyone. Old habits die hard. We've all heard that saying. I'm a big believer also in, creating incentives for the change, whether it's, kind of, giving people, an extra incentive to use it, and, rewarding them for that, or, requiring, like at the contracting company I ran when I built out JobTread, like, we essentially, when we rolled out, rolled out the system, like, we essentially told the subs, look, at the end of the day, if you don't upload your photos at the end of every day before you step foot off the job site, you're not getting paid. And so, like, it very quickly, and I mean, basically immediately, got them to adopt the new process and to use the system, because we tied their compensation to it. Hopefully you don't have to get, as drastic, but like, you got to look for ways that you can make sure that you're incentivizing and, making sure that everyone is adopting it. And, whoever your champion is, obviously they got to lead by example, and then, get them to help kind of encourage others when you see that it's not happening, address that immediately. Don't just kind of let it fluster. It's so important that, like, you sit down with the people who are, maybe having a challenge, understand the challenge, take the time to train them and help them get over as fast as possible, so that the entire organization as a whole is able to move. And, lastly, one other thing, I want to kind of summarize everything here, with, when you're selecting your software, like, it's so important to look at both the software solution and the company. You've got to evaluate both, like, it's just, sometimes, the software side can be awesome, but the company and the support is not, or vice versa. And so, like, you've got to make sure that you understand both sides of the house here. So from a software standpoint, again, is it going to meet your needs? Is it going to be, flexible and able to adapt to your processes? Is it going to integrate with other systems? Like, is it easy to use? Is it intuitive, easy to learn? Is it fast and responsive? Like, does it work on all the devices? Is it mobile friendly? Is it cloud hosted? Like, these are some of kind of the most common things that you want to look for when you're trying to find a modern solution that'll be, a good fit for your company. But when you're looking at the software provider, do they have strong technical support? Is there training resources, a help desk? Is it all accessible to you? Do they have videos? Is the staff knowledgeable? Do they understand the industry that they're working in and the solutions that they're trying to help you, implement? Like, do they understand your business? Is the software, or the pricing model, is it affordable? Is it affordable now and in the future? Are you going to get that return on your investment from working with this company? And then I think one of the most important things too is, like, do they value your feedback? Are they focused on continually improving the product? Because again, like, just because a piece of software doesn't do something today, that doesn't mean that it can't do it tomorrow. But at the end of the day, like, are they listening? Do they care? Are they collaborating with their customers? Can be like the most important sign of a great company to work with, because if they are, then they've got that ability to keep improving the product. There's no such thing as a perfect product. I don't believe in perfection, but you can constantly strive to achieve it. But at the end of the day, it's continual improvement. Every single day we have to keep making the software solutions better and better. And we do that by listening to the customers. That's why, again, that Facebook group for the JobTread pros that I mentioned earlier, it's so valuable, because we can see all of the challenges that people are having. We can interact and have conversations and ask for screenshots and for them to share videos and show us, what isn't working well or what they're confused about. And that directly influences our development roadmap. Like, we literally track every single feature request that we hear from our customers. And that's how we prioritize our developers and what projects they're going to work on next. And so, again, it's a great way, to find a company that is going to be a good, partner for you today and in the long run. We view our customers as partners. Our goal is to collaborate. We want to do everything that we can to help you win, because that's how we're going to win. And so I think that mindset is a great way to kind of, again, spend time talking to the company and the software providers to make sure that they're the person and they're the partner that you want to work with, today and into the future. And so, again, for everyone who, may not be familiar with JobTread, we are a construction, estimating project management solution. We can help with your sales, your estimating, we've got a, CRM doing all your estimates, you're sending out your proposals, collecting signatures. We can help with the job, project management, from scheduling, the job costing, sending out purchase orders, work orders, managing all the, kind of the files, the photos, things like that. And then, obviously once you need to kind of focus on the financials, the vendor billing, the customer invoicing, making sure you're getting paid, integrating with the accounting system. So, if you're not familiar with JobTread or you're not currently using it, we would love to, have you schedule a demo, where we could kind of walk you through it, show you more, see if JobTread is going to be a good fit for your organization. Again, it's something that, you got to spend time, really evaluating and understanding the software before you dive in too quickly. But we'd really love to have that opportunity to work with you. And look forward to seeing you on future webinars. And we appreciate your time. And thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.